Two. How we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Thursday, March 19th, and we have an 8-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know which sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap yesterday. Nothing special, but I went 5-4 on the 9-game card. I was able to make some money personally, but I would have done better overall if the Rockets had won that last game. Shout out to the Lakers though, it was a fun one to watch, and they're back in action tonight, so I'll let you know my thoughts on that. I'm now 70-66 on every game played in March. Let's try to stack a few more units tonight. In our first matchup of the evening, we have the Detroit Pistons in DC taking on the Washington Wizards. Pistons are minus 1100 on the money line, and the total is 231.5. They're talking about Cade Cunningham is out with a collapsed lung. Definitely wishing my guy a speedy recovery, but I don't know if this year is going to be the same for Detroit. Of course, I still expect them to win this game, but 14 points is a pretty big number. I've mentioned it before, but guys like Duncan Robinson and Tobias Harris are streaky at best. The Wizards do come into this one banged up without Trae Young, but I can still see them finding a way to lose it by 12. I'm taking the Wizards plus a 14 as my first selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Orlando Magic in Charlotte taking on Charlotte Hornets. Hornets are minus 220 on the money line, and the total is 225. I know I haven't been high on the Magic without Franz Wagner, but they have been playing solid basketball recently. They've won 6 of their last 8 games, and the 2 losses were against the Hawks and the Thunder. I just talked to you guys about Tobias Harris being streaky, but the exact same thing applies to a lot of the Hornets roster. I'm not even surprised when LaMelo goes 2 for 14 from the field. I'm not exactly rushing to the window to fade the Hornets at home, but Orlando's in the better form right now, and I think they keep the momentum rolling. I'm taking the Magic plus the 5.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers in Chicago taking on Chicago Bulls. Cavs are minus 700 on the money line, and the total is 238.5. The Bulls come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Toronto back home to Chicago. They got blown out by 30 last night against the Raptors, but it almost works in their favor since they were able to conserve minutes. Obviously, Cleveland's a better team, but I haven't come around to fully trusting them laying these extended numbers. They're currently 15-19 against the spread on the road. I know the Bulls didn't look great last night, but they've only lost by more than 12 in 2 of their last 10 games. They're usually competing, and Cleveland's the perfect team to give up a backdoor cover. I'm taking the Bulls plus a 12 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the LA Clippers in New Orleans taking on New Orleans Pelicans. Pelicans are minus 120 on the money line, and the total is 232. We saw this exact same matchup last night, and the Pelicans won that one 124-109. We were on that, and I've been letting you guys know that the Pelicans are the best team in the league as favorites. When laying points, they're now 11-3 against the spread. We are pushing our luck running it back twice in a row, but the main issue with the Clippers for me is Benedict Mathurin being ruled out. Kawhi played last night and clearly it wasn't enough, so even if Darius Garland is listed as questionable, I think the Clippers are still lacking in depth. When the Pels are favorites, it's usually for a reason. I'm taking the Pelicans on the money line as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Los Angeles Lakers in Miami taking on Miami Heat. Heat are minus 150 on the money line, and the total is 242.5. The Lakers come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Houston to Miami. They beat the Rockets for the second time in a week, and they're now on a 7-game win streak, winning 9 of their last 10. The Heat being favorites here is concerning if I'm on the Lakers, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. I'm taking Luka Doncic to go over 31.5 points. I watched that Rockets game last night, and Luka inspired me. He was out there breaking ankles and smacking step-back threes. I was looking through his stats on no rest this season, and he somehow only gets better. He averages 36, 8, and 8 on the second leg of back-to-backs. Miami is a defensive team, so it won't necessarily be easy, but with that in mind, the rest of the Lakers squad should have even more trouble scoring and defer to Luka. I'ma lock it in as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Phoenix Suns in San Antonio taking on San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are minus 440 on the money line, and the total is 228.5. In my opinion, this line should be even bigger. Of course, Dillon Brooks and Mark Williams are both ruled out, but now Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen are both listed as questionable. The Spurs come into it at full strength, and the last time we saw these two teams play, the Spurs won it 121-94. That was exactly 1 month ago. I will say all the money is on the Spurs, so I am a little skeptical, but at home, I expect them to show up. I'm taking the Spurs laying the 9.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Milwaukee Bucks in Utah taking on Utah Jazz. Bucks are minus 225 on the money line, and the total is 229.5. The Jazz come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Minnesota back home to Utah. They got their asses kicked last night, and if I'm being honest, it's looking like they're starting to tank. Well, I guess they've been. They've only won 2 of their last 14 games, and most of the losses were by margin. The Bucks are banged up and without Giannis, but I still think they're at least competing for a playoff spot. More of a lean, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing from the Jazz. I'm taking the Bucks laying the 5.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Philadelphia 76ers in Sacramento taking on Sacramento Kings. Sixers are minus 145 on the money line, and the total is 226. Let's call it what it is. The Sixers have 19 more wins on the season. Yeah, the Kings got a couple wins recently, but that's even more reason why I'm expecting a flop tonight. I mentioned in that last game that it looks like the Jazz are tanking, but the Kings have even more incentive since they're in last place. Philly's a playoff team. Even with their second unit, I see them handling business tonight. I'm taking the Sixers laying the 3 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Nice to stack a couple wins last night, but let's try and get a sweep ASAP. I appreciate all the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.